Welcome on Texas football. Time for the breakdown, brought to you by Bingham's Bourbon. Ryan Bingham, our friend, has delicious bourbon. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, Rod Babers, CJ Vogel, myself, Bobby Burton, we're here to talk a little breakdown, talking about the Texas Longhorns going up against the UTEP Miners. Rod B., as we look to the keys to this game, and that's what we're going to talk about today, the thing that you brought up in our pre-production meeting is you think that UTEP is pretty disruptive on defense and could cause Texas and the offensive line that has struggled some problems.
I mean, I know obviously Texas has way more talent than UTEP, and they're a better team, and they're going to beat UTEP, right? They're probably going to beat them in a commanding fashion. But it's a really good test for the Texas O-line. Even Sark admitted this, obviously the game versus San Jose State, that they had some leaky pass pro and that he thought they lost their fundamentals at time. Guys, UTEP is tied for the lead in all of college football in sacks. They got 10 of them. So they're tied for the lead in sacks in the FBS. They're also, I believe, top 5 in tackles for loss as well. So they got a lot of tackles for loss. I believe it's like around 25 tackles for loss they have. And 14 different players have contributed to that number. Of their 10 sacks, you have 9 players who have at least a half a sack. It's wild. I mean, how many different players contribute to this havoc that UTEP creates. They're also really good on third down. They're a top 10 third down defense. And Texas has struggled on third down, as we know. All right, Texas converted 1 3rd and 4 or longer third down, guys.
Just one?
Just 1 third down. That is
through 2 games.
4 yards to gain or longer. They converted just 1 of those, by the way. All right, only 2 third downs converted via the pass. So Texas third down issues right now are problematic, and you're going against one of the better third down defenses in college football right now. Now, I know they've only played UT Martin and Utah State. I get that. But right now, they're a sound defense, and they wreak havoc. They're really aggressive. You'll get some man-to-man on the back end, too. We'll see if they try to learn something from what San Jose State did with some of the twists and stunts up front and some of the blitzes that San Jose State threw out there. But I'm telling you, this is a really good test for an O-line last week that I think maybe have underachieved, all right, in Sark's eyes.
Rod, you're talking about what sounds like an extraordinarily aggressive defense.
Yes.
10 sacks, 20-plus tackles for loss in 2 games. What's the anecdote for an overly aggressive defense? Is it a run right at you type style from Texas? What does Texas need to do and succeed with, other than third down, to kind of negate that approach by UTEP?
Yeah, actually, right. The best third down call is the one you don't have to make. Win on early downs is what Texas needs to do. So we could see some of that. I mean, 12 personnel. Texas had their best 12 personnel showcasing in Sark's tenure here at Texas versus San Jose State. You add extra bodies to block and pass pro. You also get extra bodies and extra gaps in the run game. That may be something Texas throws out there. You obviously outman and you probably outweigh them at the point of attack. Maybe you want to throw more mass at that. I think the screen game and the quick game, I'm a big fan of the screen game and the quick game, even straight drop back quick game. We saw a little bit of that versus San Jose State where they straight drop back. I think the Wingo was like a 9-yard curl route. You should see more of that. Arch is really good in straight drop back situations, guys. I'm telling you, he's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He's more relaxed that way. Throw out that and in the quick game, and I think that will not negate, but it finds a way to neutralize the pressure they're going to bring, because it's inevitable. They're bringing pressure, guys. No question.
CJ, you agree with Rod here and what Texas has to face? And then also, what is your key breakdown for this game?
Yeah, it's really interesting watching this defense because they are aggressive. They find ways into the backfield, but they don't create many turnovers. You know, that's.
Are you talking about UTEP? Okay.
Talking about UTEP, yes. Yeah, and that's kind of contradictory of one another, because you would expect those havoc plays to create balls on the ground or errant passes. And, well, only 1 turnover created so far this year. That was a fumble recovery. Now, the big thing here is they get guys to the ground, and they live to see another down, essentially. They don't go for the knockout blow, though they do have a lot of havoc plays. But they force you to go down to down to down throughout the entire length of the field. And here's the deal for me. They have 8 missed tackles throughout 2 games. a tremendous number for any defensive coordinator. I think you'd be pleased with that number right there. On top of that, PFF grades them as the number one graded overall tackling team in the entire country. Again, through 2 weeks, I would argue every defensive coordinator in the country would love that start. So they get guys to the ground, and they do it through a plethora of different guys on the field at all three levels. That's the big thing for me, is who on this Texas team will create with the ball in their hands? Is it the running backs? Can some of these tight ends get loose? And which of these wide receivers do we see not just make plays with their legs after the catch, but help spur other guys and blocking throughout the play as well, which is something that Sark's mentioned now 2 weeks in a row that Texas needs to do a better job of as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned playmakers need to make plays, and this could be a game where Texas is without a couple of them. We know that Trey Wisner, Steve Sarkisian said he's doubtful. DeAndre Moore could be out for this game. He left the San Jose State game with a stinger. They've been cautious with him this week at practice. Then you also have guys like Jack Endries who had a banged up ankle coming out of that game. Could be a playmaker issue. CJ, do you have a playmaker or two that you're looking for in this game for Texas to step up?
I think all obvious answers point to Ryan Wingo, right? Where does that connection come in? But look, it's going to have to be somebody that plays a similar role to DeAndre Moore. Because look, if he plays or not, I would assume it's not going to be the same workload that we've seen throughout the first 2 weeks. Is that a Dalen McCutcheon? We saw Texas, design plays specifically to go to Aaron Butler to see what he can do in the passing game. Ryan Niblett's been that fifth guy onto the field already through 2 weeks as well. One of those three really has to separate themselves. And right now, I think the clubhouse leader is Dalen McCutcheon. So I'm looking at one of those three to kind of separate themselves. If not, look, I think you're going to see 12 and 13 personnel grow exponentially over the next few weeks.
That's interesting because you look at it, you think Ryan Wingo could have a big game. Obviously, Parker Livingston has stepped up the first couple of weeks.
Definitely.
Why wouldn't he step up again? A newcomer like Jordan Washington, Nick Townsend, also possibilities. And then we should see more of Christian Clark as well as James Simon, perhaps, and even Jarrett Gibson later this week as well. All right, before we go to the next portion of this show, I want to say thank you, or Rod wants to say thank you to our friends over at Bingham's Bourbon.
That's right. This episode brought to you by good friends at Bingham's Bourbon, created by Grammy and Oscar-winning artist Ryan Bingham. For years, Ryan turned down offers to just put his name on any bottle of bourbon. No, he insisted he wanted a bourbon that he could be proud of, one that stayed true to his Texas roots and where the music comes from. That's why he built Bingham's from the ground up, a Texas-certified whiskey made with 100% Texas-grown grains, distilled and aged in the searing Texas climate for a bold, unmistakable flavor. From the hands of local Texas farmers to the barrel to the glass, every drop is a tribute to the land, the craft, and the people who shape it. Bingham's Bourbon, proof that Texas makes a damn good bourbon. Available now across the great state of Texas. Find details at binghamspirits.com. That's binghamspirits.com. Thank you to our friend Ryan Bingham.
Thank you so much, Rod, for doing that. Guys, we look at the game overall, and we talked a lot about the Texas offense and what they would do against the UTEP defense. Let's flip that. And now, what do y'all expect for the Texas defense to do against a UTEP offense that did not score many points, only 16 against Utah State, but then had 42 against UT Martin? What do y'all think of the defense here, guys?
The Texas defense, look, I think it's going to be another opportunity for them to clean up on some of that run defense that we saw kind of get sloppy. We saw, San Jose State was able to extend drives. They had guys open in the back end as well. But look, I don't think UTEP provides that much of a threat as San Jose State. And I say that because, look, they rank 107th right now in the country with only 21 plays of 10-plus yards through 2 weeks. It's not great. You extend that to 20-plus yard plays, they're 92nd. So they don't have a lot of explosivity. They're going to keep the ball with very close to the line of scrimmage as well. This should be a great opportunity for Texas in the secondary to jump a lot of early routes. On the back end, it's going to be another test of how quickly can they, round up and group tackle a lot of guys this upcoming weekend. So not an explosivity, not a big test defensively for the Texas Longhorns, but altogether it's got to be cleaned up in terms of coverage, winning those one-on-one reps and man coverage. On top of that, can your guys up front eat double teams and not allow offensive lines to reach the second level, which that happened a couple times a week ago. That's what I'm looking for.
Rod, theoretically, what CJ describes is a dominating performance, it sounds like, for potentially for the Texas defense. Do you agree with that, or do you see some chinks in the armor there?
I agree. I agree with that. I think, but I do think there's some things that Texas should be aware of, and Texas fans too. There is Malachi Nelson. CJ talked. I mean, this guy's got a really high ceiling. We know that. Former 5-star, but Steve Sarkisian's talked about him. He takes care of the football. He's only got one interception on the season. I think he's got a fumble lost on the season, but he's done a decent job of taking care of the football. They do have a running back that showcased himself versus UT Martin. He didn't play in their first game versus Utah State, but versus UT Martin, he had 8 carries for 117 yards. So, consider the competition, but that's somebody you should be. His name is, I think, Hassan Wilson is his name. Should be aware of him. He's a running back. He can be one of those guys adding a little explosivity to their offense. And they do have a wide receiver, Kenny Odom, who's a good player. I was talking to Fozzie Whitaker, who's going to actually do the game. He's doing a game for ESPN and telling me about he's done a couple of this young man's games, and he's a player. And Kenny Odom is their top receiver right now, but he could actually be a guy that, could have a really, really high ceiling as one of the best receivers in the country. If, he reaches his potential, he's a guy you got to watch for them targeting specific DBs, because that's what San Jose State did. All right. They took Scudero, right? Got had a lot of talent, but he's kind of one of those kind of gritty overachievers, but they found ways to get him matched up on a freshman, Grayson Littleton, and also matched up on Gilbo. They thought they could win a lot of those matchups. I think they'll do the same with this young man, Kenny Odom. I think they'll find matchups that they believe are favorable to them or advantageous to them. That's something else to watch too. So there's nothing I think special about this UTEP offense, but there are a couple of players that could prove to be, high-level playmakers that Texas needs to try to take away because they add juice to this offense.
Yeah.
CJ, I was going to ask you, what is their run-pass mix? If people know, how heavy of a pass team versus run team are they?
Yeah, it's pretty balanced, a little bit more favorable to the run side. 60 pass attempts through the first 2 weeks, so about 30 a game. They've had one game in which they threw 24 times, another that was 36. So look, depending on how the game is flowing, you'll see them utilize that pass just a bit more. The big thing here is, and I mentioned short throws in that kind of 0 to 10 range. You go 10 yards and beyond in this UTEP offense. Malachi Nelson's only 6 of 24 passing the football this year. So, look, those 6 completions have gone for 177 yards. So, when the ball's completed, they average about 30 yards down the field on those big pass plays. But that's not their success, and that's not really where they like to make hay on their offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, their recipe is a little bit different, it sounds like. Summing this up before we go give our score predictions in this breakdown, y'all more concerned or more interested in what Texas does on offense or defense on Saturday? Obviously, everybody's going to be watching the whole game, but the side that you're going to be watching particularly close, Rod?
Offense is not even close to me. I mean, like I said, I brought up the players. Kenny Odom, you should be aware of. The guy Hassan Wilson, Malachi Nelson. They got some playmakers over there. And by the way, I forgot to mention that Kenny Odom kid, he came with the coach, the head coach from Austin Peay. What's his name? Scotty Walden. Yep. So that's why he's such a big part of their team and their culture. But anyway, getting back to it, the offense, because they're going to be tested. That offensive line is going to be tested. It's a really aggressive defense. They're going to try to wreak a lot of havoc. I think they're going to run a lot of twists and stunts and games up front, a lot of simulated pressures up front. I think they're going to try to give Arch Manning hell. I really do. And we'll see if Texas decides, we're going to slow the game down and just go to the run game. But and on third down defense for them, their top 10 Texas third down offense is one of the worst in the country right now. Texas has to improve there. This is a really good test for them overall. So I really am intrigued to see what Sark brings to the table versus his UTEP defense.
All right. What do you think, CJ? You agree with that?
Yeah, I do. And I want to see that offensive line really start to click like we saw at times against Ohio State. I thought they took a bit of a step back a week ago, but this is why you play these games. And I've echoed it all week to improve. And those steps need to be going forward in week 3. On top of that, again, I mentioned those playmakers. Who of those young playmakers can really step up and carve a role for themselves? Again, I thought Nick Townsend over the last 2 weeks has really had some eye-popping blocks. And if you are willing to block and lower your hat, you're going to be on the field more times than not. Now it's about what can you do next? And for Jordan Washington, it's the contrary, right? How can you get on the field? We've seen the big play in the passing game. Now can you lower your hat and become one of those dirty players on the interior? That's what I'm looking for as well. But altogether, all eyes on the offense, clean up the penalties. 2 of 12 on third downs, not good enough. That's the steps you need to be taking ahead of SEC play.
Yeah, I want to see a little bit more out of special teams, a little cleaner play overall as well. I think that's fair. All right, time for the score announcement here. CJ, you go first, my man. You've been on it this year a little bit. What you got?
Well, I'm keeping the 50 burgers in the freezer. In the freezer. Excuse me. I mean, until I see it, they're staying downstairs. We're keeping them away. But 41-10. That's what we're rocking with. Look, doesn't cover the spread, but I do think Texas comes away too much talent on both sides of the ball and ends up with another 31-point victory.
There you go. Rod B., what about you, buddy?
Yeah. I'm not going to let CJ trick me into going to 50 burger again. He convinced me last week, and they should have actually, CJ, to give you credit, but it didn't happen. They still got a lot of work to do on offense. I'm going to go here with, I want to get there. I really do. I'm going to go 38-6.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rod B., I gotta tell you, you know what my score prediction is?
What?
38-0.
Exactly.
I think Texas might just get themselves their first shutout of the year.
I like that.
The defense has literally allowed 3 touchdowns through 2 games. I think San Jose State certainly has a more productive offense, at least in my eyes, than UTEP. Yeah. We'll see, though. That's why they play the games. But you're going 38-6, Rod B, 41-10, CJ, and I'm at 38-0. None of us have Texas covering the spread, which we said at the outset was 41.5. You know what that means? They're likely going to cover the spread.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
That's the reality, okay? We know enough to know that we don't know it all. That's why
I would love that. I would love that. That means the offense performed really well. But now the only reason I am predicting they don't is because the offense has some work to do. That's it.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think everybody believes that's fair. All right, we want to say thank you again one last time to our friends over at Bingham's Bourbon.
We appreciate our friends over at Bingham's Bourbon. That's right, folks. This episode brought to you by Bingham's Bourbon and created by Oscar-winning and Grammy-winning artist Ryan Bingham. For years, Ryan turned down offers to just put his name on any bottle. He instead wanted a bourbon he could be proud of and one that stayed true to his Texas roots and where the music comes from. That's why he built Bingham's from the ground up, a Texas-certified whiskey made with 100% Texas-grown grains, distilled and aged in the searing Texas climate for a bold, unmistakable flavor. From the hands of local Texas farmers to the barrel to the glass, every drop is a tribute to the land, the craft, and the people who shape it. Bingham's Bourbon, proof that Texas makes a damn good bourbon, available now across the great state of Texas. Find details at binghamspirits.com. That's binghamspirits.com.
Good guy. We had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. Just was a really nice guy. Check him out. Bingham's Bourbon. Also Texas through and through. Hey, any last thoughts in this breakdown for either of you guys, CJ or Rod, before we let folks go?
Yeah, I'm encouraged by the steps taken forward a week ago. It was offensively, it was a pretty ugly performance in Columbus, but you saw Arch find a rhythm, right? And if you're going to play complementary football like we saw in San Jose State, then Texas can score in spurts that maybe no other team in the country can do. Yeah. Now it's about finding ways to score in which you're given a long field. And that's really what I want to see the improvement on this upcoming weekend. Only 17 points on 9 possessions that started in Texas' side of the field against San Jose State. That's less than 2 per drive. That's not great. Let's see that improve in week 3.
Rod B?
I'm with CJ on that one. I mean, I would love to see, Arch just continue to take those steps. Arch and Sark continue to kind of get to know one another. I still think that's a process that's going on. Sark is a play caller, calling the plays that are most compatible and most advantageous for Arch. So I can't wait to see that process continue. And the defense, I think, right now the identity of the defense is, they created 4 turnovers in that game, and I'd like to see them just continue to wreak more havoc. So I don't know how many turnovers he'll get in this game. Hopefully 2 or 3. But that havoc feeds the offense, and that's that complementary football Sark's talking about. And like CJ said, if all you get this year is Sark runs, you can win a lot of games that way, because the defense, I think, is one that's going to be sparking the runs mostly, it seems like right now.
They did last week. 4 turnovers. Yeah. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks, Rod. Thank you, CJ. And thank you to Bingham's Bourbon for sponsoring this episode of On Texas Football. We'll have more for you tonight. CJ, you are back at it again alongside Jeff Howe and Amanda Atwell on the live stream for you two, as well as Ryan Bingham and our producer, Matt Hutchinson. This has been On Texas Football. Welcome.